Lunch breakers and takers, do us a favor. Take a minute to hit that like and subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Well, my friends, it was quite the season. It ended with a disappointing loss as the Ravens lose to the Bills 17-3. Pretty ugly performance by the offense. Defense came through and did their job. They did what they got paid to do. And quite honestly, so did the offense.
Yeah. Also a pretty bad performance from the special teams. Justin Tucker missed a couple of field goals, hit the uprights both times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, all around, not a great performance outside of the defense. Lamar had, sort of an okay day. Bad pick six.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I said, okay, he missed some throws. He made some throws. But the O-line didn't protect well. The receivers didn't play very well outside of Hollywood. And, it's kind of it's what we expected once they got to this point in the season.
Yeah, we've been talking about it all year. If you've been following us for some time, and if you've seen us on some of the other YouTuber shows, we've been pretty consistent with what we said. You put this kind of investment in the defense and none in the offense, it was going to result in exactly what happened, right? Mm-hmm. It started in the offseason. We've been saying this, especially if you follow us on our podcast, right? Lunch Break Hot Take, check it out. We've been saying it from the offseason that there are some issues, there's some concerns that we had with the offense going into this season. One being Marshall Yanda retiring, and there was no there's no obvious replacement for him, right? People kind of mentioned Ben Powers, but Ben Powers wasn't really proven. And in the draft, nobody talked anything about the draft, who we're going to get. We ended up drafting Tyree Phillips, but that wasn't part of the plan. We missed out on Cesar Ruiz, although I'm not even sure if that was somebody that they even looked at. Matt Skura, people were high on Matt Skura coming back from a ACL tear. We were not. And he pretty much showed that he wasn't either he wasn't fully healthy or he just wasn't that good. Either way, he hasn't worked out. And of course, we didn't add any more weapons at wide receiver. We actually lost weapons because Seth Roberts, who, he wasn't particularly great, we lost him. We also lost Hayden Hurst. We traded him away, and we didn't get a replacement for him. So the skill positions were worse, O-line was worse, and we really didn't do anything to address that.
No. Going along with the O-line, you saw this season when Ronnie Stanley went down, they didn't even have a backup tackle on the team.
Right.
So they did a terrible job of putting the offense together this offseason. They focused almost entirely on the defense. The one investment they made in the offense was J.K. Dobbins, and that's a position that doesn't really matter all that much. And they used a second-round pick on him. Yeah. They were not prepared to take another step with this team.
Right.
And it really is just a philosophical thing at this point in Baltimore where they want to win with defense, and you can't really do that. It's very, very difficult to try and do that in the NFL today.
I think the way we lost last year gave them cover to make the moves that they made in the offseason, because the last 3 losses that we've had in the playoffs, the offense didn't look good at all. But last year got overshadowed by the poor performance by the defense in the playoffs, because Derrick Henry ran all over our offense. They put up, 29 points on us. But in that game, we only scored 12 points. But it got overshadowed because Derrick Henry had a great game against us. And we drafted, I don't care what anybody says, we drafted to stop Derrick Henry from doing that to us again. So we went linebacker in the first round. I love Patrick Queen, but that's not what we needed at all, especially with T. Higgins right there, ready to take. And Eric DeCosta said it himself that it was between T. Higgins and Patrick Queen, and they decided to go with what they thought was the better draft value. I thought that was nonsense. All right, there's no draft value in getting a player that you don't need. You don't need him, right? I can't even say that he's a better talent. I mean, I think he's going to be an excellent player, but so is T. Higgins. And we followed it up with like B said, a running back in the second round. We go linebacker again in the third round, and we don't get a wide receiver, which is what we needed. That was one of our 4 third-round picks, but that was I think the 15th or the 16th wide receiver taken in the draft. You cannot tell me they planned it that way or they were high on Devin Duvernay. If you really were high on Devin Duvernay, there's no way you're going to wait that long to take him, because when there's a run on wide receivers and you're really high on one of those wide receivers, you're going to hit the panic button and say, man, let me go get him now before he gets taken off the board. They were content with whoever was going to be there.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. They don't value offensive skill positions. They value running backs to a certain extent, but they do not value wide receivers at all.
No, they don't.
That's really just what it is. And they do a poor job of evaluating wide receivers as well.
Yeah.
Going back to the playoff game, the thing that people really took away from it wasn't even necessarily the poor performance from the defense. It was, a couple of big plays from Derrick Henry, right?
Right.
Everybody remembers Earl Thomas getting turned around and shoved out of the way.
Yeah.
And, and they were just kind of embarrassed. Because, that was a 60-something yard run at the end of the game that got him close to 200. He was at about 130 on 29 carries. He's a really good running back. That in and of itself isn't terrible. You'd like to do better. But, the focus was on, let's get our run defense better. Let's stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
They were up 21-0 on 3 passing touchdowns.
Yes.
And it really was their lack of ability to answer on offense, which was the problem in that game.
Yes.
Yes. But it was just the memorable plays were Derrick Henry running all over the defense, and so that's why you get Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, Madubuike, and all that.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention they traded for Calais Campbell, and then during the season they doubled down again and traded for Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
So everything was about defense and making sure that this defense was going to be just rock solid. And we still, when they traded for Yannick and DeCosta said, yeah, we're not done yet. We're not done making moves. And then they go inside Des Bryant. Look, we got criticized for some of the comments we made about it, but we just didn't like the move at all. Des Bryant he gave nothing to this team whatsoever. He added no value to the offense whatsoever. And you can miss me with that, he brought this swag to the locker room or some intangible thing that you want to that you want to call it. He provided nothing. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of money, even though he didn't really cost a whole lot. But it was a waste of an investment on the offense, as opposed to bringing in Yannick, somebody that we thought was going to be more of an addition, definitely an upgrade from Judon. But it just didn't work out. I still think Yannick is a good player, but it didn't work out here. But look, all that being said, the defense did exactly what they're supposed to do in the playoffs. You hold the Titans to 13 points. You really hold the Bills to 10. The other 7 points came from a pick six.
Yeah.
So they absolutely did their job. And if we did just a little bit more on offense, we could have ran away with that game.
Yeah. But, they don't have the personnel on offense. They don't have the coaching on that side of the ball to compete in January. They just don't. Right now, at this point, they still have not fired Greg Roman. No. I'm starting to feel like maybe they're not going to.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. They need to get that done so they can start talking to replacements. But I'm starting to get the feeling that they're not going to fire him at all. So they really need to focus on free agency in the draft. It needs to be 100% about supporting Lamar at that point.
Absolutely.
And I don't even, we talked this past year about them drafting T. Higgins or maybe moving up and getting CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. I don't even want to hear anything like that this year. Like, they're so bad at picking wide receivers. They better go in free agency or via trade and get somebody they know can play.
Absolutely. And look, there are a list of wide receivers available, so there's absolutely no excuse. Now, preferably, we go for a younger wide receiver that can come up with Lamar, so we don't have to worry about getting another one later as this one, as an older one ages. But, Allen Robinson is at the top of our list. I think he's like 27, maybe 28. He's still younger. But either AB or Chris Godwin. Both of them are going to be free agents. I think one of them will go back to Tampa. I'm thinking probably AB if Tom Brady comes back another year. If not, I think he'll be gone. Chris Godwin will be the one that signs there. But whoever hits free agency, that's somebody that we could be looking at. I know AB was like the boogeyman around here, right? But he's doing just fine in Tampa. Yeah, if he's available, bring him here. Lamar wanted him here. Obviously, Hollywood, that being his cousin, wanted him here. We can revisit that. Kenny Galladay is slated to be a free agent, although we think he might get re-signed. You got Curtis Samuel, you got Corey Davis. There's a bunch of them out there. So there are options for us to go and get a good wide receiver, not just another guy, a good wide receiver. And we haven't even mentioned trades, right? Adam Thielen was somebody that was rumored that we were interested in trading for. Revisit that. Julio Jones is reported to be available. I know he's older and people are going to say that he's hurt a lot. This year was the first time that he's missed a significant amount of time. And he's still really good.
Yeah, I think Michael Thomas will probably be available as well.
Yeah.
They're way over the cap. They're not going to be competing next year, most likely. Drew Brees retiring.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be looking to move on from Slant Boy. That's somebody, he'd be a major upgrade in Baltimore.
Yeah.
He has his long-term deal already, so he costs a lot. But Baltimore will get a little bit of a discount, not having to pay the signing bonus and things like that. But
Sure.
at this point, I don't want to hear about the cost. It doesn't matter. Okay?
Money can't be an issue. Money cannot be an issue.
You went all defense already. Okay, you tried that, and you got 11 solid starters on defense, and they played the way you expect them to play in the playoffs, and you still got beat because defense does not win championships.
Yes.
You have to be able to score, and Baltimore can't.
Yeah. We've said it thousands of times, and Graven has said it on his show thousands of times. When it comes to the defense, money is not an issue. They always have the money to get the guys that they want. When it comes to the offense, hey, man, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. Even for draft picks, hey, or trade for somebody. Hey, we really wanted that guy, but they were just asking for too much. Or we were in on him, but we just couldn't get it done. Oh, we really like this guy in the draft, but he was too high up in the draft, and we couldn't do anything about it. You always fall short on the offense. That needs to change.
Yeah.
Because the one good thing that came out of this game was it was painfully clear, painfully obvious that we have issues on defense. You couldn't make any excuse, not defense, offense. We have issues on offense. You can't make any excuses about, if we would have done this on defense or defense that. Defense is rock solid, like we wanted it to be. There was no problems with the defense. It's time to invest in the offense. Don't put any more money into the defense. I understand Yannick, Judon, Bowser is going to be. They're all going to be free agents, and we could be a little weaker at edge rusher. I don't care. We're still going to be a good defense. Are we going to be top 3? Maybe we won't be top 3. It doesn't matter. But we need to be at least top 10 in offense.
Yeah.
All right. Running and passing.
Yeah. So, Mark Ingram will be gone. Right now, they're looking like they're about $23 million or so under the projected cap. Obviously, that, who knows what the cap is going to be. There's talk about it coming down. But just as a starting point there, they've already made it known they're going to be cutting Mark Ingram and saving about $5 million there.
Yeah.
They can cut Nick Boyle and save another $5 million. So I don't want to hear about the money and I know that people are not going to be on board with cutting Nick Boyle, but you do not need a second tight end who's exclusively a blocker, or almost exclusively a blocker, making $6 million on a team where you need to throw the ball more. Right?
Yeah. Stop worrying about him being an excellent blocker. If you want an excellent blocker, get linemen. Get linemen to protect your quarterback, and you won't worry about a blocking tight end as much.
Right. So, they're going to have enough money to address the offense. Yeah. And it's about whether or not they want to make that commitment. Yeah. At this point, like I said, they need to go and get Allen Robinson and a second wide receiver also. I'm partial to Curtis Samuel myself. I think he's very versatile. He's a skilled player. I think he would do very well in Baltimore. But whoever it is, go out and sign 2 wide receivers, right? Even if you can find a guard in free agency, go ahead and do that as well. The draft also needs to be focused on the offense. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to hear anything about defensive players on the first couple of days, because they have enough holes on offense that even if they signed a couple wide receivers, they still wouldn't be good to go, right? They need a new center. They need
Yes.
to draft a tackle because, yeah, Ronnie Stanley's coming back, but you have one more year before Orlando Brown hits free agency. I don't think they're
Exactly.
going to want to spend or want to give him a big money contract right after they gave one to Ronnie Stanley, and they don't have any backup tackles.
Yeah,
So,
because Ronnie's because
mhm,
Orlando Brown is going to make left tackle money. He played really
mhm,
well at left tackle in place of
yeah,
Ronnie Stanley's absence. So he's going to get paid a lot of money. And like you said, I don't think they're going to want to spend it on him. So you better be looking at his replacement right now.
yeah, they need to be looking at center in the first round, tackle in the second round. If they're sitting there in the first round and maybe like a Kyle Pitts is still on the board at their pick, they're picking I think 27th.
Yes.
So if he happens to still be there and there aren't any great interior lineman prospects, okay, go ahead and grab Kyle Pitts. Having 2 tight ends does give you an advantage on offense in terms of matchups. But otherwise, they need to hit the offensive line hard in the draft. And like I said, you need to wait until rounds 4 and later to go and try to address edge rusher and if you want some depth in the secondary, you've had the opportunity. You know, they've drafted multiple edge rushers in rounds 2 and 3 over the last few years. They traded a third round pick for Ngakoue. They franchised Matt Judon, and we're sitting here on January 18th saying we have no edge rushers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't want to see them throwing another pick after that situation. You've got bring back Tyus Bowser, bring back Jihad Ward. You've got Jalen Ferguson, and fill in where you can. But the days of using the top resources on defense have to be over.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. 100%. It needs to be offense focused. And also another thing we didn't mention, two things. You mentioned coaching, right? We're going to get to that in a second. But the other thing we didn't mention is Lamar's contract. They talked about Lamar, them being interested in extending him in the offseason. So if you're going to make that investment in your quarterback, don't make the same mistake that you made with Flacco, right? You pay Flacco a bunch of money and then you took away weapons. You didn't bring back Anquan Bolden. You didn't bring back Torrey Smith. All right. I mean, Ray Rice had that issue where he was pretty much done after that. So but you didn't really do anything to surround him with more talent. Don't make that same mistake with Lamar, and don't use that as an excuse either, because that was the excuse that they made with Flacco. That's just an excuse. You can always find ways to bring in talent. So take care of Lamar, pay the man, and invest in Lamar. Invest in Lamar. He's a superstar. He's the one that's going to carry that team to a Super Bowl, not the defense. The defense just showed you. They just showed you they can't carry your team, right? They can't carry the team. They played excellent in both games,
Mm-hmm.
but the offense could do nothing. So it's time to say, defense, we want to keep you solid for sure. Not saying be a bad defense. We want to keep you solid, but all of our resources got to go to the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Now, coaching, you mentioned earlier Greg Roman. It has to be done. He has to go. I don't want to hear about him getting another chance to develop, to see if he can develop a passing game. Greg Roman has been coaching for a long time. We know exactly what he is. His resume speaks for itself. He
Yeah.
can't do it in the pass game. He's a run game coordinator. You don't have enough. You don't have any more time to be playing around with him. Doug Peterson is out there.
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to get Doug Peterson, if he wants to come here it'll probably be a year, because I think he's going to be a head coach again. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. He'll get another shot. But come here for a year and try to implement some passing scheme, and hopefully somebody can take over after that. If not him, look, they're going to have to look around. I mean, we have some options. We were planning on doing a video on this, a separate video, but we can name some of those coaches. You want to go over a couple of those names? You
Yeah,
have it?
we looked at Joe Lombardi, who's the quarterback coach in New Orleans. He was a former offensive coordinator in Detroit. Mike Kafka is the QB coach. He's getting some buzz as a OC right now. They're talking about him maybe in Seattle.
Mm.
Um, I like my guy Ken Dorsey in Buffalo. He's the QB
Yep.
coach over there right now. He was also the quarterback coach in Carolina for a number of years with Cam. He was the quarterback coach the year Cam won MVP.
Yeah.
Um, this is probably one that a lot of Ravens fans won't want to hear, but Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell knows what he's doing. It wasn't, yeah, at the time it made sense to try and upgrade, and get a better coordinator if you could, but they can't. Much like wide receiver, they're pretty bad at evaluating coaches.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind seeing him get another shot
Me too.
at offensive coordinator if he were willing to do that. Even Joe, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this. Joe Blameyer, I believe is how you say it. He's
Mm.
he's an assistant in Kansas City as well, assistant pass game coordinator and quarterback coach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of names out there. It's just a matter of, do they have the kind of uh, not ambition or energy, but if they want to do it, if they want to make a change and want to actively try to get better, or if they want to say, "Hey, Greg did good enough or well enough, and we'll run it back again." You know?
That can't even be an option, in my opinion. I think Lamar has hinted at it earlier in the year when he said, "Look, they're calling our plays out there." I don't think that was him trying to throw Greg Roman under the bus. I think that's just him just being honest. But I think that speaks to the kind of coaching they're getting in the situation their offense is in right now. Is too predictable. We just heard Hollywood Brown come out and say, "Hey, look, we can't continue to be the number one rushing team and next to last in passing.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some balance." I think I don't think either one of those are shots at Greg Roman necessarily, because I think both of those guys are too humble, or they're too respectful to really go in on coaches like that.
Yeah,
But that is a cry for help. That is
yeah,
a cry for help. And look, those two especially, I know they put in the work. I have no issues with Lamar's growth or Hollywood's growth. I know Hollywood caught a little flack because he tweeted out, you need to use your soldiers. He's saying, "Get me the ball." I had no problem with that. And yes, he had a couple of drops, but for the most part, he pretty much backed up what he said, man. Like, he's the only person on the offense other than Lamar that stepped up. All right.
right.
So I had no problem with them. And I know they're going to put in the work this offseason. They talked about getting the whole team together to put in that work. So those guys are dedicated. They are dead serious about winning and taking the game to the next level. We need a coach that can get the most out of them. And Greg Roman ain't it.
Right. Another coach I forgot to mention, Shane Waldron. He's the pass game coordinator for the Rams right now. And another guy who I kind of like as a possibility is Ike Hilliard. He was a former wide receiver. He's been a wide receiver coach for about the last 9 years. At various places. He was in Miami and Washington, Buffalo, back to Washington again, and he's in Pittsburgh now.
Right.
Initially you kind of look at it and you're like, why has he been a wide receiver coach for 9 years? Right. But that is one of the problems in the NFL, is that black coaches don't get promoted to offensive coordinator positions.
Right.
So, that in and of itself doesn't say anything about his ability as a coach. But I think that's somebody that they should look at as well. He's got a lot of experience. He played at a high level in college and the NFL. So I don't think he'd have any problem coming in and commanding respect from the players. And he's had a lot of experience in a lot of organizations.
Yes. Yeah. So we just named a few coaches there, and look, we're not the GMs, right? It's not our job to really go in and vet these guys, but we just doing a quick Google search, right, and just talking it out, we came up with some viable options for this team. So it's not a matter of, well, hey, if we get rid of Roman, who can we get to replace him? That ain't hard.
Right.
It's not hard.
There are no shortage of people who want to coach and who want to coach football.
Right. And want to coach Lamar.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, is this organization going to get serious about making this team a contender? Because they can say all they want, but they know the deficiencies that they have on offense. And after the way they played in that last game, they cannot continue to go forward and say, we can get it done with hard-nosed defense and running the ball. They just, if they are, then they're lying to themselves.
Yeah,
That's
it's a different era.
Yes, it's a completely different era. So, yes, all in all, We finished 11-5. We got out of the first round. Lamar's first playoff win. That's great. It still ended in a disappointment, even though I didn't think they were going to get out the first round initially with the way they were playing. It still ended in disappointment because we should have been able to beat Buffalo. But, the offseason is here for us, and we have work to do. But if we do the work, the sky's the limit for this team. The sky's the limit for this team. It's a very young team on offense. If you add some more young, talented players, we'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think also, Kansas City came back out and put people kind of back on notice. People have been kind of sleeping on Kansas City, saying, oh, they haven't been playing all that well, and, the defense isn't good and all this stuff. No, I mean, they didn't blow out Cleveland, but they went in and they showed you how difficult they are to defend for most of that game.
Yeah.
Obviously, then Mahomes gets knocked out, and he hopped on Twitter with hashtag anything is possible.
Yeah.
Because even when this is the other part of it, even when Mahomes was out, Kansas City stayed aggressive on offense.
They played the exact same game. They threw the ball on fourth and inches.
Yeah.
They threw the ball on fourth and inches.
You don't play scared. And I think there's a few coaches in the NFL who realize that playing aggressively on offense is like 80% of the battle. The league wants you to be able to move the ball. They want you to be able to score. So if you try to move the ball and try to score, you're going to be pretty successful. But most coaches won't do it. And it's particularly bad in Baltimore.
Yeah. Yeah.